All right, hello. I don't need a microphone. So I'm Patrick. I'm a annoyed Irishman. I mean, what the hell? Seriously, dude. World Meteorological Association, the new International Cloud Atlas that came out in 322 last year, they love their numbers. 322, look it up in Genesis. Those guys, gotta be YouTube safe. So, so what is this? Their condensation trails have persisted for at least 10 minutes and given they gave all these BS names and there's, whatever. BS. Brand new clouds. I got sent this book, this beautiful book by John Constable's landscapes in the 19th century in England, and they were awesome. They didn't look like that. And they did not have halos in them and whatever. Okay. What are they? Okay, they're these. The official line is a plane flies, plane burns fuel. It's a hydrocarbon. A hydrocarbon produces carbon dioxide and water vapor. It's cold up there, so the water vapor freezes. We know things freeze, don't they? And that's why we have these things. Really? Okay, that's what you're sticking with? So, first of all, you can look up condensation. Condensation only happens when things are wet enough, when there's so much water in the air it can't hold on to anything else and it has to come out. If it's just water to water, it has to be multiple times 100% relative humidity before it condenses, unless there's a condensation nucleus. A condensation nucleus can be soot, pollen, your bathroom mirror. So, days like that, there are no freaking clouds. You can go, there's a website you can go on called the Wyoming Soundings, and there's a network of these stations around the world. They send a balloon up twice a day and they measure the relative humidity at different altitudes. I've seen days like that and the relative humidity is 7%. 7, too freaking dry. If it's the desert and you spill your drink, it dries up. Anyway, so what do they propose? They propose, we're all going to die from global warming. So we might have to save you by putting stuff in the sky. Stuff. Stuff including, they usually talk about sulfates, sulfuric acid or sulfates, which is acid rain, which is bad enough by itself. But they actually say there's a problem with sulfates, because, especially sulfuric acid, because it grows and is sticky and falls out of the sky. Instead, we should be using, alumina, for example. David Keith is one of the guys who's wheeled out to say, we might have to do this. And one of the things we are thinking of is alumina. And it's actually really cheap and easy. All you have to do is inject alumina vapor into the exhaust and it condenses into nanoparticles. That's how you make nanoparticles. It's the same way. If you want a small particle, you start from a point and grow it. You don't start with a big piece and rub a piece off. Friction makes big, chunky particles. If you want nanoparticles, you have to condense a gas. So, why is this a problem? Well, aluminum is extremely toxic, and there is no debate about this at all anywhere in the world. You go on PubMed, type in aluminum toxicity, you'll get maybe 6,000 articles. Here's how alumina works. And they'll say, but there's aluminum is the most common element in the Earth's crust. Correct. Or most common metal. Correct. In the form of bauxite. Bauxite is aluminum hydroxide. And it's very, very, very stable. If you put some bauxite in a glass of water and wait, it's still going to be bauxite. The only way you can break it and then make like MacBooks and all the things we make with aluminum, you have to boil it in caustic soda to begin with. And that's not a naturally occurring thing, so it's very freaking rare. You just do not see until we started refining it, you did not see any of these salts or free aluminum. And what it actually does, aluminum oxide, Al2O3, sapphire is Al2O3, is not entirely insoluble. If you put it in a glass of water, my phone even, that phone, if I put that in a glass of water and wait long enough, it'll dissolve. And the metal ion will come off. So this metal ion, free aluminum, Al3+, is a neurotoxin. It also causes cancer. In the first half of the 20th century, all of the research on the toxicity of aluminum was about how it's carcinogenic. And I know it's carcinogenic because I actually have here, in this box, there's a place, by the way, these yellow stickers, those are hazmat stickers. That's $40 worth of hazmat handling. I went to Origin, US Research Nanomaterials, Inc., 3302 Twig Lane, Houston, Texas. This is 5 nanometer alumina particles. There's 5 grams in here, and the surface area is more than 3 Olympic swimming pools. So, alumina, what does it do? When it gets into your cells, and when it's 5 nanometers, it can go straight in. It has no problem getting there. And when you breathe it, it goes straight through your hippocampus, straight into your brain. There's no barriers. There's no mechanical or biological process needed to take that in. And when that slowly dissolves, and if it has a large enough surface area like this does, Al3+ comes out.
Sorry, I have to ask him about the sound.
What?
Oh, not that one?
Oh. Anyway, when Al3+, yeah, there's no. Anyway, Al3+. When you add Al3+ into a neuron, the first one, it might be okay. It's going to screw it up a little bit, but it'll reach a certain point where it goes into reduced functionality. It'll start acting a bit wonky. And then you raise up that level a bit, and this is different for every neuron and every person. When it reaches a certain point, the body has a look at this cell, it's like, that's jacked up. You know, sorry, got to call it a day on this thing. And it undergoes programmed cell death. The cell knows, okay, I'm going to kill myself because I'm a damage to the environment. And it kills itself. Apoptosis is what it's called. And if you have an even bigger injury, a bigger amount, you can have a sudden insult injury. For example, in Camelford, England, in the 80s or I think 80s or 90s, there was this water plant, and they accidentally put some aluminum salt into the water supply, and people dropped like flies. They went like instantly mad and horrible, painful deaths like that with a massive dose, and that's the major insult. But with apoptosis, in this case, it's a poison, messed up cell. The body says, "Yeah, that's bad. Let's put a little fence around here and not do any construction here because it's all bad here," and it permanently dies. Permanently. If you have a stroke, blow out half your brain, it can people get their speech back, they can walk, they can do all kinds of stuff. With this, they can't. And just so frickin' happens that the #1 cause of death in England, 2 years running at least, has been Alzheimer's. #1 cause of death. This is a disease that did not exist 100 years ago. It was 0. And in fact, if you go to the CDC, which are, as you know, a 3-letter agency, and I have a dim view of them, they are not particularly forthcoming about data, which I'll get on to later. But I did a search and I found this PDF, and I looked at the address of the PDF, and I managed to change the URL to get stuff going back to 1979. I have the major cause of death from 1979 to present, or 2016, and escape. Sorry, it's weird having it like this. Excuse me. So this is too small to read, obviously. starting at 1979, that's from all causes of death goes from, that's like, it's just a little under 2 million to a little over 2 million, right? All causes of death. Cancer went up a little faster, right? COPD did that, right? That's up a lot. Alzheimer's. That's Alzheimer's. This doesn't quite touch zero here, but it's the width of my pinky finger. 800 deaths in 1979. 800. 160,000 up here. 160, that's 2016. But you look here, right there, mid-90s, up it went. It growing steadily here, and then up it went there, and then a few years ago, whoa, though, and seriously, it's going to be up here someplace. It's got to be. And I wanted to get some data on when did it start in earnest, because I got photographs from the 60s and earlier. So I went on Facebook and said, hey guys, when did you first see the chemtrails? And I had 350 data points. I found out about it in 2015. I did, right? First reports of viewing by decade, right? 10 in the 80s, actually I'm gonna make this a little smaller, sorry. Right. It was the 90s.
Yes.
It goes from 10 to 50, and of course I didn't say ahead of time I am doing an epidemiological study. I didn't even think, I had like holy hundreds of replies like, oh hey, little bit of math, took me a morning if that, and I got this data. That shows it went big time in the 90s. So that's not good. Okay, right. Pure coincidence, the shills will say, oh, because maybe more people are using underarm deodorant or whatever. Who knows? More vaccines. Aluminum in the vaccines. It's in steaks. Seriously. A buddy of mine lives in Wyoming. He was in Walmart and he was buying steaks, and on the ingredient there was from some aluminum salt in a steak. What's it doing in a steak? Apart from the obvious. So here's another thing though. David Keith, bless him. He is, let me see if I can find, where are we? Marin, PDF. Jackpot, I'll show you later. Right. This character, David Keith, this is the one where he says sulfates are ineffective. Instead, we should use these little discs of stuff. And I'll show you these little discs of stuff. It's on the next page. Right. So, there we have it. Okay, so top layer, alumina, the stuff that kills you. Second layer, aluminum, the stuff that kills you. Third layer, barium, the stuff that kills you. Titanate. And underneath, magnetite. Okay, magnetite is an oxide of iron. We survived the Iron Age. What's the big deal with iron? No big problem, right? However, I spoke to Chris Exley, who's been studying aluminum toxicity since the 80s. He knows all that well, I'll get back to him later. He actually wrote a paper, and in the paper he mentioned iron. I said, well, so what's the deal with iron then? He says, well, with iron is an oxidant. Alumina, the Al3+, is a pro-oxidant. Together, they magnify the oxidative stress on the brain by a factor of 10. 10 times worse if you put the two together. It's a binary weapon. And oh, look, he just happens to have them. That's what he says he's going to spray. I don't believe for a minute he's actually going to be doing these discs. These guys have to tell us what they're doing. And they're saying they're going to be spraying aluminum, iron, titanium nanoparticles. Not necessarily that shape. So I do rainwater analysis. And let's switch back to numbers, because numbers are cool. We can use numbers against them. Right, so I'll make this, see how I can make this bigger. So I've done, right, so over on that side, that's the number of tests. There's 49 rainwater tests where I tested for aluminum, barium, iron, and so on. Percent positive, positive being above method detection limits or reporting level. If it could be less than that, and it doesn't show up in my data. That's just the limitation of using this particular lab, or labs in general. So the lowest amount in micrograms per liter for aluminum that was detected was 16, highest 450. Actually, that's 540. I got that wrong. Barium, 65% of the time there's barium. It ranged from 1 to 160. It's like 145 times rain factor from the lowest to highest. Iron, 78% of the time, ranging from 13 micrograms per liter to 400. Right? Titanium I also was checking, and that was there like 80% of the time. I've only tested for sulfur 4 times, and it's been 100% all 4 times it came up. And high from 270 to 1300 micrograms per liter of sulfur. And oh, where have I heard sulfur before? Stratospheric sulfate injection, maybe? They're telling us what they're doing. So, iron and that. So you think, okay, fair enough. Well, maybe I'm a klutz. Maybe I'm deliberately contaminating my own samples, or the jug that I use is also used for changing cat litter or something or whatever, and it's all wrong. It's all wrong, even though the levels all vary independently. I can get really high barium and no aluminum and vice versa. It's not contamination, but I deal with shills a lot, and they will say, well, prove it. Prove it's coming out of the plains. Why don't you go up there with a drone and measure what's coming out the back of a plane? Why don't you measure that, and if it's positive, yeah, we can talk about it. Until you do, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Okay, so to do that, what I would need to do is I'd be outside, like a day like this where they are spraying. You'd have to figure out which one is spraying, so you have to watch them for a little while, and then when you realize it is a persistent one, and you'll have to get your test equipment to 40,000 feet in like 2 minutes, and carry the payload, go back into the wake of an airplane and be activated in the wake of an airplane. There's a name for one of those things, and they do not sell surface-to-air heat-seeking missiles at Radio Shack if they were even open, and it's illegal to go over 1,000 feet. So that's one of the rules. That's one of their BS things, Rule 19, because you can't frickin' prove it. Well, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, we can. Here it is. This is the June 14th, 2013 journal Science from the AAAS. That's the American Association of, the science guys. And on page 1320, there is an article right here. Clarifying the dominant sources and mechanisms of cirrus cloud formation. The abstract. Formation of cirrus clouds depends on the availability of ice nuclei to begin condensation of atmospheric water vapor. Our results demonstrate that mineral dust and metallic particles are the dominant source of residual particles, whereas sulfate and organic particles are underrepresented, and elemental carbon and biological materials are essentially absent. Cirrus clouds are metal, and a mineral is a metal oxide. So, that's it. That's the end of the debate. There's freaking there's a crap load of metals and minerals in the stratosphere where pollen can't even get up, and they're not even finding carbon. They're not finding soot. They're not finding incomplete combustion from jet engines. It's a tiny, tiny fraction. It is proof that we're being sprayed. But even if I didn't have that, I also have, let's go to Firefox. Right. You've heard about this. David Keith plus et al. And the guy might even be called Al, I don't know. Anyway, this year says he will spray a fine mist of materials such as sulfur dioxide, alumina, or calcium carbonate, blah, 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 blah. Right? Remember, I don't know how many frickin' zeros there are in this little 5-gram sample. He's going to be releasing up to a kilogram. And how many 5 nanometer particles you can get in a kilogram of aluminum oxide, I haven't done the math. But it's going to be a large number, and it's going to be a larger number than there are people on the Earth. Okay. I'm a 50-year-old male. 52. Statistically, I'm more, you know, if you go to the whatever the tables, the actuary tables, I have a high percentage of dying with Alzheimer's or of Alzheimer's, and it's increasing by the year. And because this is a progressive disease and is progressed by the alumina nanoparticles that this character says he's going to release, if I breathe one of those in, and frankly there's so many I don't know, I can't see how I cannot, because each of us in here has at least one atom of Caesar's last breath. Right? If he does this, he will shorten my life. Maybe not by a much, but that doesn't matter. If there's someone dying and you shoot them, you're a murderer. He's shortening my life. So, we have our book. They have theirs. Black's Law. I want to read you a section from Black's Law. Murder. Murder, noun. The killing of a human being with malice aforethought. Blah, blah. Go down. First degree murder. This is the 8th edition. First degree murder. Murder that is willful, deliberate, or premeditated, or that is committed during the course of another dangerous felony. All murder perpetrated by poisoning or by lying in wait is considered first degree murder. Right, so he's trying to murder me. I have standing. I have standing. He said he's going to do it. Because they always say, oh, you don't have standing. Oh, you're not the injured party. Well, he's trying to kill me. If he hired 12 ninjas to go out and kill a person each, and I was amongst the group, no matter how large, that were possibly going to be killed by these ninjas, that's still attempted murder. But it's almost statistically impossible that I won't be. My life will not be shortened by this. So I am going to file a restraining order in federal court in San Francisco, and then get a hearing with a judge, and then enact or get the judge to apply a preventive injunction on him releasing any aluminum salt other than aluminum hydroxide. Right? And for my trouble, I'm going to charge him a penny. You know, because you're trying to frickin' murder me. So I want that for my emotional distress was a penny, right? So I will, but while I'm doing it, if they argue it, I'm going to fly Chris Exley out here, and he will destroy the aluminum industry. Because he'll say, yeah, anyone who now, from this point onwards, releases things that contain alumina that can shorten someone's life, is also partly responsible for the entire cost of every future case of Alzheimer's ever in perpetuity. That's a big number. This character is doing under the auspices of the Harvard geoengineering group. And so it's first him, his colleagues, and the other dudes who were there. The Harvard Endowment is exposed, and the Bill Gates Foundation, and Hewlett-Packard, and what I'm going to then say after getting my penny is like, I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Better Call Saul. It's about this lawyer who is not entirely ethical, but he's out, he wants to, increase money, get rich and whatever. I'll set the precedent and say, okay, all you lawyers out there, do you want some Bill Gates money? Do you want some Hewlett-Packard? Do you want to own frickin' Harvard? Find yourself a protected group. A spotted owl, the Navajo. There's plenty of them. I'm speaking on behalf of these guys. I'm going to take my 40%, and it is going to be a feeding frenzy. They will destroy themselves. And then when we establish that this is way worse than frickin', they wish they were in the asbestos business after this. They're going to wish it. Then we can go after the airlines. And then eventually we can just go after Alcoa and everybody else. And I mean, this Black's Law, there's a lot of stuff in there about aiding and abetting, all that kind of stuff. Woo. Okay, if this law thing, they're going to throw up barriers. Of course they are. But if they say with a straight face that it's okay for some guy to murder somebody else, they destroy the entire credibility of the entire legal system. Pick door, on one side you're giving Patrick a penny and and he makes a YouTube video which they'll block, or the other one. So it's anyway, the other thing that I'm doing is I do time lapses. Hide this if I can. Out my window. Where's movies? And this one's from Earth Day. Isn't it lovely? So I've been doing this since 2013, and I have maybe 800, 1,000 of them. So I have a very good record of what happened in the sky over San Francisco. And San Francisco has a sunshine ordinance, which means it's like a freedom of information request thing. They have to give you data within 10 days. And I said, okay, tell me how many people died in each of these days. And they said, no, we're not telling you. They said, oh, no, we store that in the state database, so that's outside our thing. So I said, oh, fine, okay. Right, who else in the city ever gets to hear about someone dying? So on May 2nd, I have a Sunshine Ordinance Task Force meeting in room 406 in City Hall in San Francisco, where I have the custodian of record of the police department, the fire department, the Department of Public Health, the coroner, and did I say Department of Emergency Management? Public Health. Yeah, the 5 of them. And they've all got to explain why they can't tell me if anybody died. And check this out. The latest excuse from the Department of Public Health saying, oh, if you narrow down the date of when they died, that someone could possibly find out more about them, and that's a violation of HIPAA, right? You can't, seriously, apparently it's the law that if somebody died, a person died, a fictional person died, I couldn't say that he died this day or this week. I'd have to wait a month and said, oh, he died, or no, the person died in the month of that. You can say that and nothing else. So if you go to the San Francisco website, there's a picture there of Ed Lee. Oh, yeah, sorry, poor Ed Lee, the mayor who died in December. It says, Mayor Ed Lee died age 65 of this and that, and he's survived by whatever. Well, you can't tell me I can't say when someone died if that's on your frickin' front page. So they're going to, you know, you use the truth against them. And really, what this all boils down to is this. There's an up, there's a down, there's a wet, there's a dry, there's a hot, there's a cold, there's a calm, there's a chaotic, there's a good, there's an evil. It's just one of the, you know, you can be more awesome or less awesome. It's just the way, and because there's this range of choices, there's a range of people who chose which way to go. And I call the side I like puppies, I just call it puppies and ice cream. And the other stuff I just say is the opposite of puppies and ice cream. I won't even give it a freaking name. But I'm against, they are, just as I am determined to like mess their stuff up, with love, they're just as determined to come this way and mess our stuff up with the opposite of love, the lack of love. And it's an eternal battle, and it'll keep going on forever and ever. And what is happening right now is that people say, oh, why, you know, oh, the head of the CIA said it was going on. No, someone said, a whistleblower said it was going on. So, no, they have not admitted it, but they are also not hiding it, and they're not hiding it to a ridiculous degree. I mean, look outside. I came in, there's like, you know. But it's just like if you have a crappy neighbor and they're always like coming in and borrowing your lawnmower, and you go in like, oh, it's out of gas. Oh, maybe it evaporated, sort of thing. Yeah, right. And eventually they'll come and say, oh, is it okay if I borrow your lawnmower in future? I don't know who was borrowing it before. That's the situation we have right now when David Keith is saying, I will spray the skies above Tucson, Arizona. They are asking us clearly, and they are saying, we're going to do this. Do I hear speak now, forever hold your peace? Gee, well, there would be colorful language, but yourself would be the third word, and the go would be the first one. You are asking me, seriously asking me with a straight face, do I agree to my own destruction? Are you, expletive deleted-ing me? It's, no. No, we say freaking no. And it's, if some people think, oh, they are going to do stuff anyway. Well, if they did not need our agreement, or at least our feeling of, oh, they're more powerful than us, why would they spend all this effort constantly propagating, oh, we're big and powerful, look at our shiny hats, and oh, look at me, I've got like, oh. They got nothing without our agreement. Because think of it the other way. You always have to think in opposites. If we, like, I could go over to like Goldman Sachs. There's an office in San Francisco, and they're not the best people. You know, we see things differently. And if I went there and said, the spring flowers are out. Do you want? Let's go to frickin', you know, to Land's End, and you know, like make little like flower arrangements and like play frisbee and all that good stuff. They're going to say, actually, no, we'd rather do this evil dark stuff. I cannot make them do like puppies and ice cream, and I'm glad of that. I'm glad we all have free will, but they can't make us do their stuff, and they're asking our permission, and we're not going to do it. Nope. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but everyone now, I mean, the awareness, more people are just figuring stuff out. And there has been, you know, Brzezinski wrote about it in his last book, this Glam Global Awakening, and I'm part of it. I am helped by this spirit thing that I only found out about 2 years ago. I didn't even know it was a thing, and I know it really is a thing. If you have a good attitude, you're going to find parking quicker. It's a thing. I know that sounds like, you know, that could be coincidence. And the other side have all these bad ideas, and you have to be able to recognize all the characteristics of the other side. The main three are hate, fear, and violence, but there's chaos, ugliness, corruption, stench, everything, just the opposite of what's awesome. And the more you get rid of that, the better you are at doing the job. And I'm here to do a job. I'm here to be a freaking loudmouth and tell them to like, no. It's everything, action, reaction. The only reason they're being all whatever they are is because we're over here like just spontaneously becoming awesome. And it freaks them out. The thing about the guys on the other side, is that's what they're used to. And it's fine, you know. I don't want to join them, but that's what they're used to. For them to become less crappy, which is what we want, it's going to involve change. And change, as we know, is hard. It's not easy. Even if whatever you're going to is good, the change, the challenge, the work that you do before then is always a challenge. Like for me to get to where I am, I put work in. They will go through the 5 stages of grief. First, denial, then bargaining, then depression, then whatever. If I maybe missed what they're going to go through that. And if of course they're afraid, that's where fear comes from. We want their fear to be less, and we do that by letting them see into our hearts that we mean them no harm at all. I mean, these guys may get laughed at because all this work they did, and you know, it'll just like goes all pear-shaped, and it'll be funny. We'll laugh amongst ourselves, but I don't want even them to be heckled by their guys. My rule is no one gets hurt. Nobody, no one will be harmed. Not even the other side, especially not the other side, because if they feel that something bad will happen if they do the right thing, why prevent awesomeness happening? So be forgiving. I mean, be against the bad ideas. You choose the idea. Do you want awesomeness or not awesomeness? Go with awesomeness. And since we have, I've shown them their book. This is a good one. King James. Ephesians 6. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take upon you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, and having all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. We are soldiers. That's what a soldier does, except we don't harm. When you think of soldiers, because you think of the ones from the other side with like actual, like they'll hurt you and like try and kill and burn and whatever. We do the opposite of that. But we stand here and say, go blank yourself. And absolutely no. I mean, we're not, and don't waste any time debating whether it's going on. I've shown you that's over. And it's going to be interesting. I want to see what Mick West says about this. It'll be entertaining. And I'm not even going to haul him as a co-conspirator, because he helps me. They all help you. What you do, you manifest. I wanted to get the official line of what the BS line from the other stuff is, so I called up Mick West and said, hey, can you tell me what your BS line is? And like, sure, and we talked for 2 hours. The reason I know the method of screwing them legally is because I was invited to Chico, and where are you? And I went to see a guy who was there to say, oh yeah, we're thinking about spraying the thing, and there's all these blah blah blah, the usual dog and pony show. But he was an expert, a doctorate in international environmental law. And we spoke afterwards, and he gave me the entire freaking thing. Because in this legal case, if David Key says, oh, I got a permit from some government agency, I even know how to screw with a government agency. And the key term is capricious. They're being capricious, like it's killing people. If you do it, you're going to kill people, and that makes them personally on the hook. So, and of course they're going to throw up all kinds of obstacles, but they are asking our permission. They are asking us to accept our own destruction. They are asking us quite clearly. This article wasn't hidden. It was in The Guardian. It was in every frickin' where. They're saying, oh yeah, we're going to do it. Do I hear a no? No? Okay, then it's okay then. And I'm saying no. My cat can say no. If my cat doesn't want to go somewhere, she's not going. And we all have this power. We were born with spirit. We were born with will. We are born with eyes and senses and a connection to spirit. We are spoken to constantly. Anytime you get a gut feeling, that's coming from God. It's never wrong. It's always right. And you just do the right thing. And I'm just saying what I'm doing. And the thing is, oh, please. Yeah, let's do questions.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So, I'm a former pilot and know this is happening. And also I do have tech management plans.
Yeah.
So I often come across the debris from the chemtrails.
Right.
And I've been trying to get my samples tested. And often the labs say they disappear, dotty-dotty.
Yeah, it's convert. You need to actually, what I would do personally, I haven't done it yet, hang out in college bars or coffee shops and see if there's anyone who has access to a lab at Berkeley or someplace like that. Someone, like a postdoc who has access to one who's working on their whatever, and has access. That's got to be done. And obviously it'll be very hush-hush and, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we need electron microscopy on that. But the thing is, it's like, so we have enough to bury them. We have enough to bury them. And I'm just looking at one small element of one small program. This is a global full-scale assault on everything. Everything is weaponized. Every freaking thing. If it passed through the hands of the guys on the other side, it's weaponized. That's all your food, all your water. Okay, water. This is Shasta water. I get it from Mount Shasta. It comes straight out of her. It's very awesome, beautiful water. When I was talking to Chris, actually, he was saying, okay, yeah, sorry, I was just rambling on and on, but yeah, you need to drink water that's high in silicic acid, which is the soluble version. No, you need silicic acid. Distilled is good too, but you need a high silica content because silica is the one thing that removes Al3 plus out of your body. And Shasta water has 17,000 micrograms per liter of it. So,
water is good too because, when combined with carbon 60,
well, there's literature on silica.
You can actually feel like that's,
yeah.
I just bought a water distiller.
Okay, all right. I actually need to wrap up, but we're going to Q&A at the end, or?
We can do some more Q&A with Patrick at the end.
Yeah.
And Alana, but let's let Alana do her presentation.
And then
Patrick, thank you so much
Hey.
for your time.
Yeah.